As a young citizen of India, armed with technology, knowledge, and love for my nation, with a vision of transforming India into a developed nation, I am joining Shobhit University. What about you?
Very good morning from Shobhit Institute of Engineering and Technology, Meerut, deemed to be university. It's a Center for Agricultural Informatics and E-Governance Research Studies and the Center for Agribusiness and Disaster Management Studies welcome the participants from India and abroad for the National Webinar Series on doubling farmers' income by 2022 on every Thursday at 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Today is 31st December 2020, and this webinar is on the topic Sustainable Soil and Land Management for Climate Smart Agriculture. On behalf of the Honorable Chancellor, Honorable Vice Chancellor, the faculty members of the university, and on my behalf, and also as Professor Emeritus and Chairman of Centers of Excellence, Center for Agricultural Informatics and E-Governance Research Studies, and Center for Agribusiness and Disaster Management Studies, welcome our today's guest speaker, Dr. Adena Naradajan. He is a land resource inventory consultant, reward program, the World Bank supported multi-state Watershed Development Project, Bengaluru, and a former principal scientist of ICAR, National Bureau of Soil Survey and Land Use Planning, NBSS&LUP Bengaluru, which is a premier scientific research institution on land use planning and soil survey in the country. So far, under this webinar series, the university has organized 13 webinars on the topic, namely role of agricultural cooperative societies and e-governance, which was inaugurated by Dr. Ashok Talwai, the CEO of National Rainfed Area Authority and the former chairman of Doubling Farmers' Income by 2022, the Inter-Ministerial Task Force of Government of India, and now the chairman of Empowered Committee on Doubling Farmers' Income by 2022, Government of India. Second one is on blockchain technology-based fishery value chain. Third was on a self-contained village, a felt need of the day. Fourth was on spices informatics network value chain. Fourth, Lantana camera, a camouflaged treasure trove. Sixth was on smart hill agriculture. Seventh was on Mera mobile and Mera marketing. Eighth was on integrated mariculture, aquaponics, and precision agriculture. In short, MAPA biofarms for income revolution. Ninth was on smart tribal agriculture, optimizing value chain. 10th was on digital agri-tech and industry perspective. 11th was on land resources information system in India, present and road ahead. 12th was on weather decision technologies for increasing farm income. And 13th was on big data in smart farming. Today is the 14th edition of this national webinar series, which will be addressed by an eminent and distinguished research scientist in soil science of the country, Dr. A. Natarajan, on the topic Sustainable Soil and Land Management for Climate Smart Agriculture. Agriculture sector, the foundation of the Indian economy. Agriculture sector employs more than 50% of the India's workforce and contributes almost 17 to 18% of its GDP. At present, the agricultural livelihoods are being severely impacted worldwide over the result of anthropogenic global warming and climate change. India's labor-intensive and subsistence-based agriculture sector is particularly vulnerable to this development. Climate change has both direct and indirect effects on agricultural productivity, including changing rainfall patterns, severe drought, flooding, and changes in the geographical redistribution of pests and diseases. Indian agriculture confronts with the sheer complexity, inadequate factors of production, weather uncertainties, multiplicity of schemes, and multiplicity of institutions at farm level. India's farming community comprises of about 14 crores farmers, of which 85% have small and marginal size operational holdings. Farmer needs timely, location specific, and personalized information for effective control on their production, risk, and then market their produce to identified market opportunities. It means that scientifically, it is our responsibility to provide him where to grow, what to grow, how to grow, and why to grow, and when to grow, and for whom to grow, to have income rise for him. This requires a robust national database on farmers with their assets and prevailing agrarian distress at the grassroots level. Many national level programs, such as Digital India 2015, Make in India 2015, Skill India 2015, Startup India 2015, Stand Up India 2015 have faced operational difficulties for its impact at farm level and farmer level, that too at farm and marginal farmers. Doubling farmers' income by 2022 vision. ICT-enabled agricultural services, digitalization of agriculture, and farm extension 4.0 were deliberated in the Doubling Farmers' Income by 2022 report 2018. Digital technology in agriculture was discussed in volume 12B, chapter 7 to 10. Empowering the farmers through extension and knowledge dissemination in volume 11. The committee report in its volume 12B suggested strategic use of digital technology in farming system life cycle through an 7 mission mode project, namely digitalized agriculture, means digital technology and innovation in agriculture for transformational reforms in agricultural sector through smart irrigated farming, smart rainfed farming, and smart tribal farming. Second, digitalized agromet advisories and agricultural risk management solutions. Third, digitalized agricultural resources information system and micro level planning for achieving smart village and smart farming. Fourth is digitalized value chain for about 400 agricultural commodities. Fifth, digitalized access to inputs, technology, knowledge, skill, agricultural finance, credit, marketing, and agribusiness management to farmers. Sixth, the digitalized integrated land and water management system to facilitate per drop more crop. And seventh was digitalized farm health management for reduction of farmers' loss. This 7 mission mode projects on digital technology in agriculture, and they recently pronounced three agricultural formulas can facilitate at least one agri startup in every Gram Panchayat. It means the country can have a large scale agricultural startups to help and facilitate 14 crore agricultural farming community through 2.25 agri startups, wherein both agriculture science graduates and engineering graduates can facilitate in a very big manner, to the farming community, that to the 85% of small and marginal farming community. On 17th December 2020, this webinar discussed on the topic weather decision technologies for farming in increasing farm income, emphasizing on forecasted weather information and agreement advisories, means weather proofing farm production and a critical input for saving the farming, and also agrifying weather data to make a difference in precision farming. This address has shown the importance of combination of artificial intelligence and weather technologies with agricultural IoT data to unlock new insights that can help stakeholders to increase profitability and sustainability. This is a digital world. There is a rise of platform economy, which is emerging, and digital ecosystems are essential for digital transformation in the digital world. Application of big data, new algorithms, cloud computing, remote sensing technology, GIS are changing the nature of work and structure of economy. Smart farming is the future of agriculture, which will facilitate establishing digital platform agricultural economy in the country. Eco-economy and green economy. There has been a lot of focus on green economy and inclusive growth in the global forum as well as the national forum. UN Earth Summit 2012, which is Rio Plus 20, envisaged focus on institutional framework for sustainable development and green economy in respect of poverty reduction and sustainable development. It means it is a harmonious blend of life in its infinity diversity with the non-living factors such as climatic, edaphic, and topographic. Edaphic means soil characteristic such as water content, pH, texture, and nutrient availability that influence the type and quantity of vegetation in an area. Land resource is the mother of all natural resources, which provides life support system to all living beings. Land cover indicates the physical land type, such as forest or open water, whereas land use documents how people are using the land. There is a very important two components, land use and land cover. Land cover means the physical land type, and land use means how people are using the land. Today's topic is that sustainable soil and land use management for climate smart agriculture. It is very relevant. Agenda 21 of the Rio Earth Summit 1992 and UN Convention to Combat Desertation and UN Convention on Biological Diversity, the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change and its Kyoto Protocol, and the Habitat Agenda adopted by UN Conference on Human Settlement in 1996, directly or indirectly, suggested integrated planning and management of water, land, minerals, and biota resources that land comprises for sustainable development and use. United Nations defines sustainable land management as the use of land resources, including soil, water, animals, and plant for production of goods to meet changing human needs, while simultaneously ensuring the long-term productive potential of these resources and the maintenance of their environmental function. India supports about 16% of the world population in a land area of about 2.4% of the world. It is reported that more than 50% of the total geographical area, that is 329 million hectares, 50% of this total geographical area is threatened by various types of land degradation, such as soil erosion, gully and ravine formation, salinity, waterlogging, shifting cultivation, etc., etc. Land and water and vegetation constitutes the foundation for building up evergreen revolution movement, which has roots in the principle of ecology, economics, social and gender equity, energy conservation, employment generation, and social auditing. Sustainable agriculture and rural development is a process of sustained growth of rural economy and the improvement of well-being of rural population. Land use planning as a knowledge and decision support system is not existent as a matter of essential requirement for sustainable development. The National Bureau of Soil Survey and Land Use Planning of ICAR and Soil and Land Use Survey of India and state land use boards are involved in soil survey and land use planning activities in the country. There is a strong need of capacity building for about 13,000 agriculture and rural development offices on land use planning, and also involvement of geography discipline from schools and colleges of the block for natural resource management and facilitate advisory on land use planning and sustainable agriculture and rural development. Research, education, extension, and training are considered as the four pillars of sustainable agriculture and rural development. As you know, agriculture sector is the mainstay of Indian rural economy, as well as the largest private sector in developing economies, around which socio-economic privileges and deprivation revolve. Various research studies and policy papers highlight that Indian agriculture sector faces resources constraints, infrastructure constraints, institutional constraints, technology constraints, and policy-oriented induced limitation and implementation hurdles. Sustainable agricultural production depends on the judicious use of natural resource, that is soil, water, livestock, plant genetic, fisheries, forest, climate, rainfall, and topography in an acceptable technology management and under the prevailing socio-economic infrastructure. To achieve sustainable agriculture development, it is essential to combine natural resources, capital resources, institutional resources, and human resources, that is to optimally utilize the agricultural resources. Rainfed agriculture is crucial to our country's economy and food security because 60% of the net shown area is rainfed and about 44% of the total food production is contributed by rainfed agriculture. Rainfed agriculture is complex, diverse, and risk-prone. Convergence and integration of traditional knowledge and practice systems are suggested for development of rainfed agriculture. The second International Conference on Sustainable Agriculture, Water Resources and Health Care Policies, which was held on 18th to 20 December 2002 in Delhi, adopted the following sub-themes on sustainable agriculture. Sustainability of agriculture with respect to economic, social, institutional, and technological dimensions, local issues, micro-level planning, and eco-farming for sustainable agriculture, sustainable agriculture in different agroecological systems, irrigated, arid, rainfed, hill and mountain and coastal, and farming systems, integrated economic circuits, and provision of infrastructure, capital intensive, capital extensive, and institutional for sustainable agriculture, and lessons from traditional technologies. National Action Plan on Climate Change also talked about National Mission on Sustainable Agriculture 2019, which recommended database development projects for operationalization, among the others, as follows: development of detailed soil resource mapping and land use planning 1:4,000/12,500 scale, development of GIS and remote sensing methodologies for detailed soil resource mapping and land use planning at the level of a watershed or a river basin basis, development of a national portal on agriculture statistics and soil resource and its spatial decision support systems, extension of land use statistics data under ninefold classification to village and panchayat level in pilot districts. Then ICAR also has come out with a national initiative on climate resilient agriculture, a network project. And the Ministry of Agriculture and the Department of Space, under the National Natural Resource Management, initiated Agricultural Resources Information System in 2 pilot districts. It was expected to emerge as the richest agricultural resource information system, covering all aspects of agriculture, natural resource, food systems, to enable farmers to locate needed information, to improve yields, to plan for weather contingencies, to access research, to calculate the treatments and runoff, to simulate the growing season, to visualize precision data, to manage finances, to buy inputs and sell outputs, and to monitor prices in local as well as the world markets. Unfortunately, this pilot project didn't take off. Now, today's is topic on sustainable soil and land management, for climate smart agriculture. What is climate smart agriculture? It is as prescribed to increase productivity, to increase net return, to improve input use efficiency, to reduce emissions, increase resilience, and increase gender and social inclusions. According to 2018 economic survey, India incurs about $9 to $10 billion losses annually because of extreme weather climates. It is also noted that farms' income losses from climate change would be between 15 to 18% on an average. By 2030, rice and wheat are likely to see around 16 to 10% decline in yields. This is climate smart agriculture facilitates climate smart village or climate smart farm having 6 components, which can be a way forward for agri-tech in this area: weather smart, water smart, carbon smart, nitrogen smart, energy smart, and knowledge smart. These 6 components can be the way forward for agri-tech startups at village level to facilitate climate smart village or climate smart farming. Sustainable soil use and management. On every year, on 5th December, it is considered as is the World Soil Day. On this year, 5th December 2020, the theme was Keep Soil Alive, protect soil biodiversity. Soil is the foundation for nutrition. Soil management, sustainable soil management, fosters CO2 sequestration to boost soil health and contribute to achieving sustainable development goals. The present Modi government is setting up soil health labs throughout the country to enable their easy access to farmers. It has already sanctioned 429 static labs, 102 new mobile labs, and 8,752 mini labs, and 1,562 village level laboratories to improve productivity of Indian farms. Government of India has already have established more than 16 crore soil health card database in the country. what is needed is integrated soil fertility management. Soil is very complex, very often undervalued element, teeming with life. It is an essential component of land. And today in the talk, Dr. Athiannan Natarajan will talk very exclusively, comprehensively on the soil and land management for climate smart agriculture. Land governance is complex, but we all benefit from the services that the healthy land and soil provide, be it nutritious food or be it clean water, protection against diseases or construction material. And another area is for sustainable soil management is agroforestry. Agroforestry technologies can help farmers increase their productivity and sustainability of their operations. Agroforestry can build up soil fertility and prevent soil erosion. It can provide extra benefits, including cash in hand for the farm family through various tree products like fodder, fuel wood, food, building materials, and etc. etc. Agroforestry is a useful strategy for such farmers to increase the productivity from their land as well as to increase their resilience to climate change impacts. Taking cognizance of these multiple benefits of agroforestry, the Government of India launched an ambitious national agroforestry policy in 2014 to mainstream tree growing on farms. Sustainable soil management is a part of sustainable agriculture. Sustainable agriculture is a part of sustainable land management. Sustainable land management is a part of sustainable resource management, and sustainable resource management is a part of sustainable development. Farm Extension 4.0 emphasizes, among other things, that natural resource management very effectively. Natural resource planning and management and micro level planning is essential for smart agriculture and smart village. We expect ISRO's Bhuvan, which is an expected India's answer to Google Earth, to provide Earth observations data from Indian satellites to the general public on the same resolution and the theme and the various advisories as is being provided by Google Earth. Now, let us now turn today's talk by Dr. Adena Naradajan. Is a World Bank consultant and former principal scientist NBSS&LUP on the topic sustainable soil and land management for climate smart agriculture. Reward means regenerating watersheds for agricultural resilience through innovative development. This topic will motivate and galvanize the participants watching over telecast through facebook.com/Shobhit University India or youtube.com/Shobhit University in for establishing agri-tech startups in climate smart agriculture. More than 6,500 agri startups, at least one per block, or even about 2.25 lakh agri startups, one per each gram panchayat. We are moving towards the digitalized platform economy in agriculture, as Digital India is the way of life as envisioned by the Hon'ble Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi. Let me introduce Dr. Athiannan Natarajan to the participants. Dr. Athiannan Natarajan has done his PhD from University of Agricultural Sciences in Bangalore in 1994 on the topics social science and agricultural chemistry. And he did his MSc Agriculture from Tamil Nadu Agriculture University, and he's also done remote sensing higher studies and from Indian Institute of Remote Sensing, Dehradun, and land evaluation and land use planning from University of East Anglia, Norwich, UK, on soil survey, land evaluation, and land use planning. He joined his career in National Bureau of Soil Survey and Land Use Planning, Indian Council of Agricultural Research, as a senior scientist in pedology, and he worked there from 1978 to 1998. Then he has got promoted as principal scientist from 1998 to 2013 in National NBSS&LUP in Bangalore, and then from 2013 to 2019 he worked as a natural resource management consultant under the Sojala third project for the Department of Watershed Development, Government of Karnataka, and as of now from 2020 as a land resource inventory consultant for the World Bank project regenerating watershed for agricultural resilience through innovative development program. His major research areas are a field of specialization in soils resource inventory, land evaluation and land use planning, natural resource management, and watershed development. These are all important field of specialization for sustainable soil and land management for climate smart agriculture. He has research publication 12 in Indian Journal and about 16 in research and technical bulletins. He has visited for trainings abroad in the United Kingdom, Israel, Zambia, and Australia. He has offered soil survey and remote sensing, land resource management for sustainable agriculture, and advances in soil pedology at University of Agricultural Science, Bangalore. He has guided about 3 PhD students and 9 MSc students. As a part of World Bank team, he was involved in multi-state watershed development program in Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Odisha, and Odisha. As a natural resource management consultant in the World Bank support of Sujala 3 project, he has coordinated land resource inventory activities in Karnataka with the state and national institutions and developed a field guide for carrying out natural resource inventory by using remote sensing and GIS. And he has the whole of his expertise is on land resource inventory. Today, in his address on the topic sustainable soil and land management for climate smart agriculture, he will talk about very comprehensively the methodologies involved in land resource inventory at a cadastral level, at village level, which is very important, which is essential for the sustainable soil and land management for achieving climate smart agriculture. Dr. Adena Naradajan, the Shobhit Institute of Engineering and Technology deemed to be university and its centers of excellence, welcome and invite you to address the national webinar series on doubling farmers' income by 2022 on this very important topic, sustainable soil and land management for climate smart agriculture, and its component on land resource inventory. Over to Dr. Adena Naradajan for your address. Dr. Adena Naradajan.
Thank you, Dr. Professor Moni, for your excellent and eloquent introduction of today's topic of interest, that soil and land resource management for climate smart agriculture. It's a privilege and I'm honored to share my expertise.
Your voice is breaking. You just speak to the mic.
Okay. Sir, I'm very extremely privileged and honored to be sharing my thoughts and whatever experience in the field of land resource management in different states of the country with the various participants and audiences across the states. And I'm very grateful.
Dr. Natarajan, once again, your voice is splitting. You speak to the mic, very near to the laptop, so that it catches your voice from the beginning. Please start.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Moni, for the best introduction of today's webinar series on soil and land resource management for climate smart agriculture. And I'm privileged and honored to be part of this seminar series to share the expertise on land resource management and the options for climate smart agriculture. And I'm grateful to the Chancellor, Vice Chancellor, and Professor Moni for this great opportunity to be in front of the audience who are concerned and going to care for the climate smart agricultural initiatives in this country. And coming to that, the interest of the today's concern is the sustainability. Sustainability of land resources is a great concern for all of us, we know well. And there are three components on which I'll be taking you towards in my webinars discussions today. And what is the sustainability of what we mean by sustainability, and what is the status and where we stand, and what are the options which can help us to move towards climate smart agriculture. Let me go over to my presentation. Yes, the sustainable soil and land management for climate smart agriculture. As you see in this landscape picture, hopefully we'd like to see the scenario or the landscapes across our country like this, where every bit of soil, water, and other resources are characterized, and as per the potentials and their constraints and potentials and their suitability, their interventions are designed and they are implemented. Then naturally, if this is being followed in every part of both in rainfed and irrigated situations in our country, surely sustainability will be an issue which will not be of real threat to us, and climate smart agriculture will be a really possibility in the coming years. And as Dr. Moni has eloquently taken you towards the status of land resources, which is of concern for all of us, which is a real threat for the sustainability of the resource base which we are using, on which we day in and day out we depend on it. And the picture which we see, the status of land resources is a real botheration for us. Out of the total area, almost around 120 million hectares are degraded and different forms of degradation. If you see the picture, which is just immediately after rain, the most potential land resources in our country are, if you see that in one rainfall, how much is being lost, how much leads to degradation, loss of soil, nutrients. It's really of concern for all of us. Then all this happening at the same time, there is a pressure of population increase, and also there is multitudes of uses which are affecting our land resources. So the competing land uses coupled with population pressure is putting again further strain on the sustainability of the land resources, particularly on soil resources. So it's a great concern for all of us. And in this today's, maybe briefly, I'll be taking you what are the options for us which can help us to come to the real way how we can address these issues and take it towards the path of sustainability and climate smart agriculture. And these statistics you're all well aware of. What is important here is these figures. We have been living with this for many decades. Maybe we don't know what is the real extent today. Maybe much more than what we are seeing it. And whether it is salinity, whether it's reported as 25 million hectares, we are creating an infrastructure, irrigation infrastructure, spending huge amount of money. But on other side, there is salinization rapidly happening, which is threatening the sustainability or the productive potential of the resources, which are one of the best and fertile in our country. And then these secondary implications are the deficiencies of nutrients, which is again affecting the productivity. Then the groundwater overexploitation. Yes, we are already scarce, and added to that is overexploitation. Many blocks in our country are either gray, turning to or towards that. And as recently we have seen, the lack of interest, because farming is no more, is attracting the youth or the farmers, and you can see the figure, the current fallows, which is increasing rapidly across the country. It has jumped from few lakh hectares to now millions. Then the most critical component is the biodiversity loss. It has been estimated almost more than 50% of the biodiversity loss in both irrigated and rainfed ecosystems of our country has been lost. This is a grave concern because soil without the biological life is, it's not a living thing. Essentially, soil is a living entity. But if the biological or the microbes are not there, and we are already lost the diversity of that, the carbon sequestration or the greenhouse gas emissions, all this will be a big challenge in the coming years to come, and it becomes difficult for us to address. If this, I think, few shots of what is happening in almost all the states. One of the recent 2 years back, the article written in Hindu highlights the state of the soil resources in Karnataka, which is of course the same in other states also. The organic carbon in not in 1 or 2 hectares, about 14 lakh hectares, which has been characterized very comprehensively in a detailed way through what we call land resource inventarization at cadastral level, has brought out the very, very low level of organic carbon, which is the life of soil, which is responsible for all the benefits we enjoy as citizens of this country. And the farmers are having no option. They are toiling. The title says they are toiling on decaying soil. It's very much true. And if you see the picture below, it shows very clearly, once a vibrant coconut plantation, in the last 2 decades, it has turned into very stunted. You'll be surprised, the coconut tree life, age is almost 30 years, but this is the growth. But this has been happening in the last few decades, where once the fertile area where the coconuts have been planted is turning slowly into barren areas because of increasing salinization. This is mainly because of the impact of not the on-site, maybe off-site from the upper reaches where there is uncontrolled erosion and removal of soil, salt and silt getting deposited, creating drainage problems in the lower reaches. This is a common phenomenon in any part of the country where the water management is poor. Soil and water management, if it's not managed as per their potentials, as per their capacity, this is the situation we are going to see. And this is not very an isolated case which I am projecting to you, but this is a very widespread. Every watershed, every village, you can see barren areas. The barren areas are the ones which are very close to the habitations. That itself shows they were not barren when the habitations were established. They were very fertile. Normally, no one establishes habitations in a barren area. This have turned over a period of time due to the mismanagement or unsustainable management practices which has been followed. So it's very important and critical for all of us to manage the resources of soil, water, vegetation, etc. Because our survival now, ever than ever before, depends on the vital land resources which we are endowed with. If we don't know how to manage them, our survival becomes the big challenge, and leave alone sustainability or climate smart agriculture. So there must be every effort from all of us, from the citizen to the departments and to the concerned people, to not only stop the severity of continuing degradation or over exploitation, but also to reverse the unsustainable land use and farming practices as being followed now. So my presentation is organized as following. I'll be taking you towards the state of land resources. Just give a glimpse of what's happening across the country. how we are managing the resources, and the implications for sustainability and climate smart agriculture. If we continue to do the same over a period of time, and probably we are already late. If you continue that, what's going to happen will be a big question mark for all of us. The second one will be the options before us, how we can address the issues. Okay, it's happening. But how are we going to move further? What is the best available technology and options which can help us to address the issues and reverse the trend? And then the ICT platform, what is possible today with the technology available, how we can make it or fast tracked to, so that this issue is, taken to each and every corner of the country, every citizen concerned, because this cannot be tackled by one agency or department. Collectively, it's possible to reverse the trend and come over the situation where we are in a position to enjoy the endowments of nature, for which the empowerment is critical. And so I'll be taking through these four different ways. Title options which I'll be sharing with you. Just a look of the status of land resources in our country. And kindly, bear with me. This is not isolated cases. I am just trying to project, just to make you a little worried about it. This is a common feature everywhere, whether it's a black soil region or red soil region or lateritic soil regions. This is a common thing. And the picture is just reflects one incident of rainfall in northern Karnataka, which we captured personally. You just look into the picture. See, one rainfall event can create such a havoc, right? So that means the erosion in the form of sheet, rill, and gullies, and the amount of soil and the associated nutrients it's carrying towards the other areas, from the on-site to the off-site, it's very grave. It's not tons and tons of soil, in tons and tons of nutrients are lost. And the farmer has no option. He can see the field. If the field is as such, he is still cultivating. And just the same field, you just move towards downwards, this is the situation. The incipient gullies in the upper part has become much more deeper. That means you can see about more than 1 or 2 meters of soil column, which is normally the case in the black soil regions. The soils are always deep. Over a period of time, weathering and balance with nature, the soils have remained deep. But this, because of our intervention, because of our cultivation practices, this deep soil is becoming shallow and shallow in major part of our country. If you just see shallow, it's not because it's shallow. It has become shallow because of the neglect, because of erosion, because of the degradation. So what will happen? Then you see the next one. This is just a sequence of 3 slides, 3 pictures in a landscape, where from the first to the third one, you reach a point here. This is what you call the substratum, which normally forms at about 2 meters below the soil. That means whatever was lying here above this has been eroded, and this area becomes now a barren. It cannot. It's a calcium carbonate or lime nodular layer, which is not going to support any vegetation. And if you just move across and glance the landscape in any of the black soils, you can either see barren or white patches. Wherever you see the white patches or the plant, if it is there, you can see it's stunted or very poor. That only indicates the impact of erosion. This very grave situation we are having. And coming to the impact of that, if you allow that to happen, this is near North Karnataka again, Vijaypura. The large tracts which you see, the earlier records which we glanced shows this area was fertile. This could support generations of kingdoms. It flourished with a very fertile soil, 2 crops in a year. And today, if you see lakhs and lakhs of hectares lying bare, and you can see the rock which is exposed, and all the soil has been removed. It's it's real botheration for us. And then the red soil regions of the country, red and lateritic, yes, the situation repeats. The best fertile soil is the black soils, if we can manage, if we know how to manage. The red soils are also equally good, but the neglect of any of the resources, red, black, or red soils, will lead to the removal of the finest and the fertile soils, and the removal starts, which is very, very insidious actually. The sheet erosion, it starts with sheet erosion. You don't see the sign of it at the surface. You don't see the sign of it at the surface. This is a danger actually. Since it's not seen, it's not appreciated. Only when you see the gullies or the ravines, you see no soil have been lost. It's not so. The amount of soil lost from each and every acre of land in our country is staggering, staggering actually. And if you see the next picture, what you see on the surface, the gravels. Whenever you see, in any time when you move across the landscape, the gravels or the boulders or the stones, it indicates the finer soil materials have been washed away by sheet erosion. You don't see the sign of gullies here, but there is no soil, almost literally no soil. This is what the degraded land, what we mean. And it will become barren after some time because of the intense nature of grazing and the pressure on it because of the livestock and the farmers. Still, they keep on tilling, opening the little soil which is there on that and making it eroded or carried away by the rainfall storms. This cycle is vicious. It's really a real grave concern for all of us. Just to see the coming to the next one on the rainfed situation, the main threat is the erosion. On the other hand, what is that we are having after spending some 5-6 decades of huge expenses on creating irrigation infrastructure? We go to any of the command areas, salinization is rampant. This is one of the best maintained Kaveri command area project. And you see very closely only you see, because the yields are going down. When you go very close, you see there is salinity developing. And in the very major threat, it's a major threat in the Tungabhadra command area. When almost some 70 years back or 80 years back, when water got released into this, of this about 6 lakh hectares of area, which was fertile, which was able to produce 2 crops without any irrigation. Now today, most of the lands are either saline or sodic. And what happens now if this is allowed to continue? You see here, this what? The fertile area where the soil is rich in nutrients, and most of the salts have come to the surface. This area is having in summer temperature due to evaporation. The salt comes to the surface and gets deposited, and it's almost gone. Its reclamation is very, very costly. It's not economically feasible. And the ultimate stage is, I'm sorry to use the word, from paddy to prosopis, but that's a scenario and situation which exists in a degraded land where irrigation has created havoc in the form of salinity and alkalinity. Because under the pH of 8.59 or beyond that, the cropping is not possible except some very tolerant crops, and prosopis is one of that, which is a very it grows very fast, and that's the only species with some grasses you can see. These are all the farmers' lands, maybe the earlier generation. Today's generation cannot enjoy the benefit of the land. All survey numbers are lost. And you can see it. The other real concern is, apart from the irrigation or irrigated areas, salinization irrigated areas, the factor which is always missed in rain-fed situation also, the salinity is a common feature, because particularly in black soil regions, the irrigation water, either in the form of rainfall or controlled command area irrigation, unless we know how to control and allow it to go as per the need, it will create problem. It's a double-edged sword. We should know how to handle it. Otherwise, it creates a huge implications in the resource management. You see this area, this is a village, one village, out of which almost 75% of the rain-fed fertile land once is affected by salinity. If you can see here, see, these are all the survey numbers, field boundaries once. And here also you can see that all that is now not under cultivation. It's not possible to cultivate because the area has become like this. Because inland salinization, in whether it's black soils or red soils, is a common feature which many times we ignore it, and this is easy to control, easy to overcome. But I don't know what's happening is whether we are not aware of it or we take it for granted. This is part of the natural process of degradation. Then the best which I often quote is the one of the best tank irrigated irrigation system developed by our elders in southern states like Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, and Karnataka, where this particular area there used to be not long back, about 40-50 years back, there used to be 2 to 3 crops of paddy. See the situation today, and here it's a sodic actually, and this is not a high rainfall area. They get one monsoon season, but they created such an infrastructure tank irrigation system where they used to get one during rainfall monsoon and another 2 crops, 1 or 2 crops during the after monsoon season. But today all this area is, due to salinity, has become barren. It's very near to habitations and no one is bothered. And this is a stage. The earlier on we have seen the processes in irrigated command areas. This in tank bed areas, the area has become barren and sterile. Nothing else can grow. Even prosopis is dying. This is a situation we land in due to the neglect of degradation and its impact. And let's have a look on the huge Indo-Gangetic plains where most of our food production, paddy and other grains are being grown. Surplus is there. But you see this area here, not just a tract, it's in Haryana, Rohtak. The huge tracts are barren, particularly if you see on both sides of the canal. For me it's a real worry, because this is nothing can be done here. Even if you want to reclaim, it's not only costly or economically feasible. How are you going to reclaim it? It's very difficult. So the sustainable management has something totally gone wrong here. We have created infrastructure letting the water, and continuous irrigation has created such a thing, and it has spread and very widely in most of the districts. We don't know. We have no account of how much actually. What you see is on the surface, but you see it in the end. You don't see it in the beginning. This comes to the surface much later. But salinity builds below and comes to the surface slowly, and that's the end of it. And this is what the impact of it. See the wheat crop. This is one of the hardy crop, but this is what happens when salinity picks up in this Indo-Gangetic, which is one of the, very food secure area for us. We can't afford to lose this. And coastal salinization is again becoming an issue because of the, extent of irrigation or absence of water, which can flush this towards the sea during the monsoon months. And then less said is better. We say we have huge, around 20% under forest, but the state of forest lands and the ecosystems are real concern. This is the picture some 10 years back in northeastern states, and it's systematically being decimated. And this happens in the plains also. We can see bushes and some shrubs, not the trees anymore in inland forest areas, except the really protected areas. And what happens is ultimately is, as Moni has pointed out, the biodiversity loss is of real concern for everyone, because soil is one of the most diverse and major part of our living entities live there. And the degradation, salinization, rampant withdrawal of groundwater, all this impacts the microbes, microbial population, and the biodiversity per se. Already, as I've been pointed out, more than 50% of the biodiversity is lost due to the degradation we are witnessing. So, what is the option for us? That's a situation, and that situation can, as I told in the beginning, it's not an isolated instances which I captured. This is a rampant, and you can see everywhere when you travel next time you can see these features. Probably, my guess is probably the extent of degradation which is seen on the surface, which is not seen on the surface, are much more than what we have captured. Maybe the real figure can be much more than what we have captured, because most of our estimations are based on sample survey, not exactly the capturing of or inventory of the at the farm or village level. We have not done this in our country. So most of that data which we are having is to be taken with a pinch of salt. The real figure can be much more. So it's a real threat for our sustainability, and the least we can talk about climate smart agriculture. So at the same time, it's important that we need we can address these issues if we know where exactly these are happening and what are the factors and processes which are controlling this. Once we know, once we have an information on site specific manner, that means each and every parcel of land is different, we know well. Once we have that sort of information, then managing or designing management interventions can be really farm specific or site specific. At the same time, we are pumping lakhs of crores towards the regeneration, whether it's a soil and water conservation or productivity improvement measures, either annuals and horticulture and other crops, improvement of soil health, and then waterproofing, climate mitigation, or the most important thing is empowerment of farmers, and then sensitizing the country's youth towards agriculture, moving towards agriculture, all depends on the exact farm specific, site specific information base. And once this is there, and that too with today's technology, it can be made available in a digital form to these stakeholders, then there is a possibility we can able to stop, arrest or to slow down the degradation, and then devise ways and means of overcoming that over a period of time. It cannot happen overnight. It can happen slowly, because once you take control of what's happening across the fields in the country, it's possible to come out with solutions. If we don't know, we'll be only chasing in the dark. What's not seen cannot be tackled, cannot be caught. That's the situation we are now. Right. So the most to overcome that, the first and foremost thing is the knowledge base we need. We need to know what's happening across the landscape. The landscape is, if just at the outset, it looks very beautiful, but you look very close, each and every field is different. The resources are different. It varies from field to field, actually. So it means if you want to have a design an intervention or come out with a crop which is best suited, it cannot be, you cannot assume it is suited. What is suited here can be suited this area or here, since the resources from top to the towards the valley changes. It's not uniform. So soil and resources are not uniform is the basic thing. That means if you want to address them, you need to have the idea or the data at that scale. If you are designing any intervention, not knowing what is the variability at the field level, most of the times it's going to be a failure. That's what we are facing. So it's essential that the variability is captured, and then once this is known, the most important thing is, because the interventions cannot be designed for each and every field, though it varies from field to field. What we need is, for management interventions, similar fields need to be grouped. So the fields maybe here similar to the somewhere here. So we can make, based on the variability, make these fields which are similar on site, soil, water, or moisture availability, or any of the endowments. As long as they're similar, we can put it as the one unit or make it as one cluster, which we can say it as a management unit. That means the whole area in a watershed or a village is characterized for their variability, characterized for their endowments. Then, based on the similarity, they are grouped as one management unit. Then, once this is done, once this information is made available, it's possible to design the interventions very, very specific to each and every farm. That's what I'll be just to show you how is it possible to do that, what are the options and techniques and technologies available in today's context, how we can make this, how this can happen in a short period of time for the country as a whole, so that we are on a sound track of management of these resources in a sustainable manner. Right. Just make your, feel the pulse of in a small area like one micro watershed of 500 hectares, how the variability is and what is the implication for our management or sustainability or climate smart agriculture. You look here, this is just a small area of 500 hectare plot, watershed. The whole summit here, the ridge area, you have almost a very thin layer of soil. This shows the erosion has been rampant. This area is being continuously being eroded, and soil is almost lost. And what happens to the soil which is eroded is towards this is moving slowly and deposited in this part of the landscape in watershed where the soil depth has become almost more than 2 meters deep. In between is the transition here. So nature, these process acts not at random. It's always governed by natural laws. So once you capture this variation and capture this variation, it has huge implications for our management. If you want to go for a conservation, your priority should be this area. You must stop, eroding in this patch. Otherwise, there is no point in starting your erosion control measures here. The erosion measure has to start from here. If you want to have more choice of productive crops cultivation, this is not the area. This is not the area for most productive crops, because this is the soil column itself is very low, very less, and it's a rainfed situation. It's a sure failure, because it's not going to rain every week. Even 1 week is a long period for this soil moisture to sustain the crop here. Whereas the same area, same amount of rainfall, this column, soil column, which can hold about 30 to 40% of moisture. That means in 1 cubic meter, it can hold about 300 liters of water if rainfall is made infiltrated into this. So here, even if there are 2 or 3 weeks in a black soil, the crops will not be a failure, will not wither, whereas it will wither in 3-4 days time. So this is sure chance of getting a successful crop and sure chance of failure if you don't choose the best suited crop. What is the best suited crop? Can be a very hardy, some tree species, or which can tolerate the drought. Still it can give something or provide some cover, vegetative cover, that helps removal of the soil material from this, and then move slowly. Then the land use can be little more intensive than this. So this needs to be a reserve. Slowly there are some sort of crops which can come in this area, and then you have to be careful here because the depth is again less. Any crop which reaches here will be will not be giving any yield, because this will restrict the root growth. And this is the area where you can put all your efforts. So out of 500 hectares, around 200 to 300 hectares area is good, best for most of the uses, which can be designed. The intervention can be designed to be sustainable, and for which the knowledge about the variability and the technology which can bring that variability into an output which can be used by the line departments, farmers, and others will be a valuable tool for management. And what we call for years is the technology today is what we call the land resource inventory technique, which is nothing new or different which we are talking. It's the same like the characterization of the resources of a given area for the purpose for which we are intending to use it. So here, the land resources, that means we are not going to capture only a soil or any particular resource. It needs to be a comprehensive resource characterization, because we cannot keep on going to each and every area every time. This is a one-time data collection. That data remains valid for at least 25 to 30 years to come, except some updating as and when necessary. So this technology, LRI, land resource inventory technology, which helps to assess the nature, status, and changing condition of soil, water, and other related land resources at the field level. because here very carefully we are selecting the base maps, carefully we are selecting the scale, carefully we are selecting the observation level, because this is an one-time data. This is the data which we need if we have to move towards sustainable management of resources. This is the data most of the countries in the world has already collected, and most of the European countries, they have the resources at 1000 to 2000 scale. Some other countries around 8000, 10,000 scale. We need to move towards that. But the important thing, advantage now today, with the technology available, we can make it very fast, very, very fast. See, the remote sensing technology offers a scope to make the whole comprehensive data collection to, in a fast track mode. I'll explain you later about that. So what is important here is this technology allows us to characterize the resources of an area and then bring it in a form which can be used. And then from the data, we can churn out the outputs. The outputs are going to be varied. There is no limit for it because the users are many. It can be from the department, it can be to the downright to the grassroots or the communities. So to meet the requirements of these different stakeholders, we can prepare different maps, different outputs, different applications, which can help them without bothering how these database is created. So this will remain as a foundation for moving towards sustainable agriculture. It's not just a replacement of, or it's going to overnight change the situation, but it helps to move in a direction where the sustainability is assured if we can design the interventions appropriately. As I told just a little while ago, the most important breakthrough for our resource characterization today is the availability of higher resolution remote sensing data. Today we are having very, very high resolution, right now, less than 1 meter. I don't need that, no, we need to use that sort of very high resolution at this level for our characterization, but it's available. So it's not, there is no limit of it's a real explosion of remote sensing data, and most of that is freely available, and which helps to fast track the resource characterization at the field level, which used to take years and years or decades if you are thinking of a state or a country. Today with this and with the state of GIS and mapping techniques, you can complete the whole country in a very reasonable period of time. And I remember at this stage, Professor Moni's involvement in making this, what I can say, their LRI proposal for the country as a whole, when he was the Director General of National Informatics Center. For almost 2 years, we have been working closely as a part of ICAR. The proposal is still there. It's possible more than 10 years back, when I look back and when I look now, we can still do this much more faster than what was planned at 10 years' time. What is necessary is to take a lead to go towards this so that we have a data. And these are all standard techniques of how you characterize the resources, whether it is the site or the soil or the other resources. What I am trying to say is you need to collect comprehensively the complete resources of an area, because you are not going to go there again and again. This is going to be a permanent database for the country to live with it for at least minimum 25 to 30 years. You know, there is not going to be any change in the slope or the most of the site characteristics or the depth of the soil. The only thing which can change is the dynamic parameters like the soil fertility or some of the intervention impacted, like the salinization. The extent can be changing year after year, which can be captured easily. So once we capture this database, updating is a matter of not an issue. It can happen anytime. It can be done, and we can have a protocol like fertility can be every 3 years or every 5 years can be updated. It's enough. So that's a direction which we can take. Once the characterization is initiated, the resultant output is critical for us to understand here. As I told in my previous mapping, the end product of the LRI, land resource inventory, will be making a simple product for users. This area of say 730 hectares is, that means having more than 1,000 survey numbers, is now clustered and delineated into 7-8 management units based on the variability. Now, no, there is no need. You can understand the advantage of this. There is no need for line departments who puts in thousands of crores of rupees in every state in the name of Watershed or any other interventions to go or collect this sort of data. Even if they collect, it's not possible for them to understand whether this field is similar to the other field here. Now it gives a glimpse, the similarity of this cluster. This is similar to this. Each color shows they are similar in their characteristics. The green is one patch, is violet, and there are hardly 7, 8. That may be small, but major can be 7, 8 in any given area. That means you need not go on hunting or techniques for each and every farm, because the cluster, you can come with the management options for one cluster which is applicable to the farm and survey numbers which are included in that cluster. It becomes easy. This is a real win-win situation for the line departments and for the farmers at the end. In between, the technology people, as Mr. Moni has been telling and propagating, is how the skill development, app development, and then skill India, and then see the interventions there is no limit. Everyone can use this. This is going to be available to the public, and the agencies responsible in the countries responsible for the comprehensive database and the validity of that. It's not possible for any single person to do that. So the collective effort of the country moving towards this will be the best foundation for the country if we think of managing the resources rationally and sustainably for the years to come. So then, as I told, it's not that soil alone. The complete data of that area, of the weather and climatic parameters, moisture available, these are all, some of the things are dynamic. Yes, I'll dwell on this little later, how these dynamic parameters can be captured on real-time basis. So one time, data which is not changing and data which is changing over a period of dynamic parameters also can be captured, because everything is important for resource management. It's not soil alone which makes a difference. Soil and water alone, again, the weather and the climate and the land use, the socioeconomic, everything matters in a given area to make the management really sustainable. So there should not be any gap of the data which we have to collect. And it's a comprehensively collected, what we call land resource inventarization technique, which is being followed now. Then once those data is available, now it's following is the very easy for us. The today's GIS technology allows us to handle huge volume of data. You cannot imagine few years back, even 10 years back. Today, in Karnataka, under earlier Sujala project, we have built the state-of-art data center wherein all this data is migrated, and you can get the outputs in no time. But before that, let me explain. Using the data, we can churn out different thematic outputs. It can be a simple erosion map of the area, or the slope map of the area, or the texture map of the area, or salinity map of the area, or nutrient NPK status. Anything can be churned out. Then for the users, it can be a conservation map. It can be capability map, conservation fertility map. There is no limit. This thematic maps helps the users to make their plan, which are realistic and as need-based to the area for which they are working. So the technology permits in a very fast track mode to generate these outputs. And once these outputs are available for any area, whether it's a soil depth or capability or slope or erosion, we can just use this, integrate this, and we can make the outputs. So these are the knowledge products. I listed only a few, not complete comprehensive, which is made available through LRI for any area. We have covered about 14 lakh hectares in Karnataka under this program, for which these things are available to the public. Whether you just want to know how the lands parcels are there, You can take this crustal map or the imagery or the current land use map or the slope map, erosion map, texture, drainage, salinity, or coming to the soil maps. What is the depth of the soil, whether it is shallow or deep, and then texture of the soil, gravels present, and so on. And nutrient status maps, weather inputs, hydrological data, runoff, yes, soil moisture, groundwater status, socioeconomic, package of practices good for each and every area. Then the thematic maps, then like the suitability maps, the existing structures, and then conservation maps. All these are bundled in the form of reports and atlas. You can simply forget all this. You can get everything in this reports and atlas. And also dissemination products like audios, videos, and paper products can be generated, which can help to sensitize the communities and farmers in the area of operation. And then the whole thing is moved or migrated to the digital library portal supported by digital support system. We'll come to that a little later. So these are the knowledge products which we look for, which is necessary for making our sustainability or the management of the resources in a sustainable manner in the years to come. This is the first and foremost thing for any area. Then making use of that, I'll take you towards some of the examples how these products can be used to make the interventions more realistic, more site specific, and the impacts are visible and accounted. Unlike earlier, your interventions are never site specific, it always remains a general one, and the impact cannot be measured. It again sometimes it happens, sometimes it may not happen. Now, with complete control of the variability accounted in the LRI map outputs, we can generate for site-specific soil and water conservation plan for any area. Once the data is making use of this through a JS environment, you can get a conservation plan, which shows very clearly what could be the structure for a given area, given parcel of land. To that extent, we can go very specifically. We can say what is the type of intervention based on it is integrating the site, soil, and the intensity of rainfall, land use, and all other parameters. The final output shows exactly what type of structure in this area, what type of structure you can put here. This is the hill, I mean summit of the hill, and then side slopes, then again side slopes, where the slope changes very fast. What could be the structure? And then where when you come to the plain areas, depends on the slope and other parameters, what are the structures. So it becomes a win-win situation for the department, whichever the department, rural development or watershed or agriculture, to go for the interventions without wasting much of their time. Once the money is there, they can simply jump in and then go for the interventions. And this baseline helps them later also. In case they go wrong in any of the area by the interventions, they can get back and try to know why they have gone back, either because of that intervention problem or because of the database problem. All that is possible, and people gets accounted. It's not that you suggest something, do something, and get away. We most of the times we are having the cushion of not answerable to the grassroots or the farmers. Our suggestions are never audited. Here, this provides an audit mechanism. When we say this farm, this is different than his neighbor, why the structure is here different, why the structure is here different, it's all science based, and the data is in front of them. You can show them. So you bring in such accountability to the department and make the farmer aware of why we are making an intervention which is really science based. This becomes a real win-win situation. The gap between the planner and the farmer gets really bridged by this intervention. You are not just going and telling him, oh, come here, you put this structure. Never. The acceptance level is almost zero now. The farmer shows very less interest today because he's not convinced of, maybe scientifically may be true, but he's not convinced of the fact that why are you putting that? Now we have a knowledge product which is disseminated to each and every farmer. He knows his farm and he knows why are you putting that structure. This is the situation I am looking for the country. So it becomes a win-win situation. And then again, coming to the check dams. Now across the country, in the name of watershed development by either agriculture department or rural development department, once the money gets released, we jump to go for check dams. How is that? Because it's easy to distribute in the streams wherever there is a gap, where there is no existing structures. But we fail to take into consideration whether you need a check dam there, because check dam is necessary only when you have a runoff available. You don't know whether there is a runoff or excess runoff which needs to be captured. There is no basis so far, except in small limited area. So that basis, that science of accounting the runoff after retention in the field, how much can be made available for in a particular point, and whether it can be harvested or it can be allowed to move as an environmental flow. All that comes, and it becomes easy for the department to go for specific locations and capture the runoff. And it's of interest for us because of this LRI intervention in the watershed department. Earlier used to be many, maybe 20, 30 in a watershed, and it has been reduced to 2, 3, and some places it has been, we found it's not necessary because there is no runoff. So there is huge misapplication of the resource, the capital, which can be saved and used for other interventions in this area. Right? So this is how we can move and make use of the resources in a more scientific, more site-specific manner. And the as I told earlier, the accountability, the important product of planning is the detailed project report, whether it's for watershed department or any intervention by any department. They make a report based on the input, they make a plan and then provide the cost, and they have an action plan, all that what we call as a detailed project report. Here, making use of the science-based data generated, the DPR becomes more rational, more science-based, more transparent. The cost and the capital allocation becomes open to everyone. They can check. So this has changed. Just one example I'm just quoting is the earlier or so far the watershed cycle or any life cycle of any plan and its completion, particularly watershed, has taken 6 to 7 years in many states. And even with all that, many projects are not completed. But if you have this data, you don't need to spend 6 years or 7 years, because normally you spend 2 to 3 years in collecting data and making a plan. Still that plan becomes not science-based. Now with the data, you can make the plan within 3 months time maximum and validate it maybe another 3 months time. And in the first year itself, you can make it operational, and you'll have 2 to 3 years to see the impact. So it can be shrunk to 3 to 4 years or maximum, little more. So this life cycle, the science-based, site-specific life cycle of intervention is getting more realistic. Instead of 6 years, you spend 4 years. Huge saving. And this is how we can make the resources or the management of resources more sustainable, because you can put the resources where it's really necessary. And then some of the examples of how this helps, because I mean, just I was trying to take a list of schemes being operated by Department of Agriculture in Karnataka. At any given time, there are more than 30 to 40 schemes. Some are operational, some are having huge budgets, some are having less budgets, but there are a large number of schemes. Each and every scheme is in need of the knowledge products which I listed earlier. We take a conservation program or crop extension program or any new crop introduction program or nutrient management program, without having the data of whether it is suitable for that particular crop or whether there is a deficiency of nutrients or what is going to be the package which is best suited, you cannot move towards the path of success. So this data which is available, which is generated through LRI technology, helps in selecting the crop very specifically. The green indicates for the particular crop, mango, is highly suitable. And then you can come down, the brown indicates not suitable. It's based on the data of the site, soil, weather, and all the parameters are taken into consideration. You say this is not suitable. You say this is highly suitable, just adjoin it. Then nobody will appreciate unless they look the data, why this is highly suitable, this is not. So this sort of an input and intervention is possible without any assumption once you have this sort of a database for this country. And you can churn out this sort of suitability maps for any area. And then that output is again transparent. See, this is what has gone into the generation of the earlier maps, suitability maps. There is huge science here behind this. What is the site and soil characteristics or the weather parameters on site, which is available from the land resource inventory carried out for that area. The other side is the crop. The crop, you take mango or any crop, the needs of the crops are known, is documented by the agriculture department and by the universities. Now it's simply matching the needs of the crop with the endowments. You get the rating of suitability. It can be suitable or not suitable or marginally suitable, and whatever may be the limitations, all that is accounted. So it becomes again a critical output for management to overcome to select the area for a particular crop and to overcome the constraints and get the best productivity or yield if you address all the issues which are listed here. And then agriculture department, most of the times their aim is to go for improvement of crop yield or productivity or increase the overall productivity through either fertilizer application or crop choice or package of practices. For them, this output is what I can say an eye opener. They can blindly take this and then follow it, and this becomes easy for the department from the commissioner level down the line to the workers who are dealing with the farmers have a control on it. So this is how we can move towards that, and the output can be again a document which shows survey number wise the suitability. Each survey 20, 74, 75, take any survey number in any area, what is the best. The assessment is done for many of the crops, but what is the best for perennials, and like that you can go on listing. The details can be in the report, and again it's being captured based on suitability. When we say highly suitable, what is going to be the crop stand? Yes, this is a patch which is rated as highly suitable, as the yield is high compared to this which is less, compared to this is still less, compared to this which is not suitable, currently not suitable, the issues. So this how a farmer gets convinced. Your demo plots can be in a position to convince whatever you are doing, whatever you are characterizing, whatever you are bringing out as a knowledge product. Then coming to the most important point of LRI for assessing soil health. Many times we assume that fertility or the sufficiency or deficiency of fertilizer or nutrient is the main concern. But soil health is beyond that. It's not just by only fertility aspect or nutrient aspect. It's a comprehensive health which takes into consideration many parameters which is not available. Your soil test labs can provide only the nutrient status, but it will not show you the health of the soil. With the LRI technology provides detailed characterization of all the site soil characteristics which can be used directly also to assess the soil health. I'll show you how it can. So this is what normally you are seeing, the fertility information for each parcel of land. Say for each cadastre survey number, you can depict any way you like. It can be in the form of cards, maps and reports, all that soil health could be used. This is the one, it only shows the status, but it need not capture, it will not show the real health of the soil resources, right? It can be fertile, but it cannot, many times it may not be the productive one, which many people are well aware of. Let me not go into that. Once you have a data from LRI, what I've been saying, apart from the fertility status, it gives you what is the texture of the soil. The texture shows what can be the retention of the nutrients. It shows how much water can be retained. For example, a sandy soil to clay soil, the same area getting same amount of irrigation, which one can retain more for how long? You don't get that in the fertility report. If the soil is deep, how much it can sustain for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, as I shown you earlier in the black soil areas. Even for 3 weeks, some places even 4 weeks, there is no rainfall. The crop becomes successful because subsoil moisture is retained by the texture of the clay. Right. So the data which is available is today, as Mr. Moni has pointed out, opens up huge opportunities. With the fertility status, you link the other LRI information, weather information, package of practices, and there is no limit to come with applications. It can be a mobile application, web applications, or simple, smart, ready reckoner outputs, cards, which is globally, it's an explosion today happening. Through remote sensing, the health is being assessed, but the standard check is the data which is available, which is generated one time. That makes us to move towards really smart way of looking into the endowments of soil, water, and then take care and control or manage the resources in a healthy manner. Just to see here, why we have to all the time make the farmer to depend on the department, and many countries are moving towards the farmer himself assessing the health. It's possible because the reservoir of data which is already captured and kept in the through LRI, it helps. There can be not that there are 20 parameters, all needs to be captured. Just one parameter you can identify and pick it as a proxy one which can reflect the health of the soil resource or the natural resource of that area. This is where we can really make a real dent and help the farmer. Just having a look, just for an example, for a soil color, we all know well, if the soil is having less organic matter, you can capture it. You can see it from the color itself. Very dark color indicates the richness of the organic carbon, and consequently the fertility of the soil and the productivity of the soil. So can we develop a simple chip or handheld device which can help the farmer just seeing the color? It gives a reading. Yes, this is what, and linked with the package, he gets an information how we can manage that. And again, these all information is available: soil depth, organic root, soil tilt, all this. You can pick any of this to assess soil health. So LRI is data which is going to revolutionize in the years to come on managing the health of soil and water and other resources. It's not going to be just a lab data. It's not going to be any more dependent on lab data. Today's remote sensing technology, today's data explosion, and then JS helps us to move towards this, where there can be many startups who can reach in to develop this. We are rich in our technological resources, manpower resources. With their little support, and they can really go towards the development of simple devices which can help the rural area and farmers to prosper. And then from that, nutrient management, I'm just not talking about only nutrient, complete management of any given area is possible, specifically for a selected crop, for that particular field, for that particular crop, for that particular season, we can have a plan. The next is the application of LRI for irrigated areas to overcome the salinization or alkalinity which has developed. As this is widespread, actually. Again, if you have an information, the extent as on today and the rate of increase over a period of time. You see this map. It's almost about 30% is already affected by salinization, and this is increasing. 10 years back, this was somewhere here. This has come, and it's rapidly increasing because of waterlogging. So it's essential that a mechanism is built that controlled irrigation or proper measure for providing drainage is necessary for this area. Otherwise, this width will go on increasing on both sides. So it gives a warning how we can manage our resources. And then for reclamation, yes, it's again critical. Quantification of the reclamation of any given area is possible once you have the complete data. And because the reclamation is not only on the site, off-site, before and latter part of the area needs to be taken into consideration. You have a comprehensive information, what is above, what is below of any given area. So you can make a realistic plan which can overcome the not only the causes and the immediate issues which are on at the surface. And then, see, today we are moving towards drip irrigation, moving into supplementary irrigation. Then, which area? Suppose we are always constrained of the irrigation, whether even under rainfed condition. One supplementary irrigation, it makes the crop a success or failure. Yes, if you are able to provide one or maximum two supplementary irrigation, which really makes the crop a success in the face of a failure. Now, suppose you are going to have a very limited resource in a rainfed area. Which area, if suppose there is 2 weeks or 3 weeks drought, which area you can take care with the available moisture is the one data you get here, where the soil which is having high available water capacity, because the area which is having less available water capacity needs frequent irrigation. You don't have that resource. You have a resource which can take care to some extent. So you choose an area where the area is possible to withstand with one irrigation for another 2 weeks. So this is how we can see all this happens in an incremental way, not just jump start here. So all this helps us to plan in such a way, go for the drip or supplementary or sprinkler or whatever is possible based on these outputs. And then the most important intervention happening by some of the departments, rural development department, now agriculture department or watershed department, all of them are working at the farm level. All of them are working at the rural level. All of them needs the data for their interventions. So they start in almost in a black spot actually. What is going to be the need of the hour, need of the day, or need of the area, unless there is a reference book, baseline reference book, it's difficult. Nobody can collect, no department collect this, and no one need to collect, no one collecting as they need for their own small interventions. So there must be a comprehensive reference book. LRI provides this sort of a reference book for RDPR, because large amount of money being spent by rural development department in an area, either in watershed interventions or infrastructure interventions. All that needs a comprehensive database of the resources. This provides land resource inventory technology, provides the reference book for that. Then next step for them, before they go for planning, identify the area, prioritize the area where they need to put their interventions first on a priority basis. Again, this helps. Then convergence of schemes, because the same area, watershed department also putting check dams and RDP are also putting that check dams. And everyone works. Many times there is a lot of duplication. So what is important here is there needs to be one plan for one area. Yes, that's what we have to move. Like one plan for one India. We need to have one plan for one area, either watershed or a village, based on the comprehensive land resource information. There should not be complicated or replicated, duplicated plans. There must be only one plan, one conservation plan for the whole area, one health management plan, one crop improvement management plan. Then depends on the nature of work. Each department can share and then their resources and then intervene the area which is earmarked for them. That this avoids duplication and overlapping, which is happening, which is rampant now. So this one plan for one area will be a reality once you have this sort of a database. Yeah, there is huge, as I told, many of you may not be aware, RDPR spends a lot of money in rural infrastructure and manage resource management. This becomes a guidebook, reference book, and which is shared by other departments. Then for forest and environment, now the forest activities are not restricted to the reserve forest. As Moni has pointed out earlier, the social forestry is picking up, and the large area increase can come from the increase in forestry in community lands, wastelands, degraded lands, which were part of the community endowment earlier, now lying degraded, which can be used for the development of forestry. And LRI provides complete database where it occurs, what is the problem, why it has become degraded, what type of crop which can be suitable for that. It goes to that for minor details in the report, which can be used by the department to develop that area into a green patch. Yes, this is some of the examples which is captured, and you get this from LRI, and with all the characteristics of the area, which can be readily used to go for social forestry and other interventions which are of environmentally benign and the long term, which brings in a lot of happiness to the rural folk. Then for animal husbandry and fisheries, yes, starting from assessing the carrying capacity of an area for animal husbandry, where sheep, goat, and cow, we must have an idea about how much is the carrying capacity of an area. The LRI provides that and also shows which area is good for perennial forestry species or annual forestry species. And then based on this, if it is already overstocked or understocked, you can think of the reducing or increasing the subsidy for this animal husbandry component. And most important thing, now we are all facing the health issues as human beings. We think no, we are the sole living thing to enjoy the endowments of the earth. Certainly not. We are facing the issues because we have depleted the natural resources, their health. That health comes through the way we produce our crops, the way we rear our cattle, right? So the deficiency is getting reflected, which in turn is reflected in our health. So there is a huge link between the ecosystem, the production system, and the human health. So it's our selfish interest that we need to link all this so that we move towards that sustainable path. Then coming to the participation of private and corporate farming. Yes, I don't think you can ask any private person or a corporate people to generate this database, but their role in enhancing the productivity or pooling the resources or making the FPO or any of the clustering is necessary. That becomes easy. It gives them, suppose it's select a product, and then the map gives where they can think of where the cluster can help them without much constraints. They can go in the first priority lane to go for that particular crop and associated value chain. So this is a win-win situation for the private and corporate farming, and there are many takeaways for them. For selected crops to demo plots, because most of the corporates will be interested in putting a demo so that they attract more farmers to come into that value chain. So then again, how they will select a demo which will have a replication impact in the surrounding areas. And then you can see here the development of mobile apps and advisories by IT sectors, where the private and corporate farming and the intelligence here can play a huge role, because most of the data is there. They just simply they can tweak, and with the technology they can come out with applications. And this becomes a huge scope for startups and entrepreneurs to develop decision support system and advisories. There is a huge, there is no limitation here. And then make the agricultural extension through public-private partnership. Yes, you are providing the data which has to be used, and certainly this makes a win-win situation to the farmers and for the resources to be managed properly. And then finally, the LRI, after all, no, we are all for the farmers and communities. If they are prosper, as the other day they are saying, the smart cities depends on smart villages. If the villages are to be smart, the farmers have to be endowed, and farmers have to be sustained. The community has to be prosperous. So this is all possible, and there is a foundation which we can lay, and bringing out the issues, their constraints and potentials, and sensitizing the issues to the farmer and the communities. LRI provides the roadmap for that. It also shows what is the best suited crop for this. It gives I can say a basket of options in a given area. They can choose which is the best and avoid costly errors. Many places, a mango, for example, a mango tree or any perennial tree, if the soil is shallow, it will come for first 2-3 years. And because of incentives and subsidies given by the department, they may go for plantations, but the plantation dies after 5-6 years. There is no sustainability, because once the root system reaches the substrate of rock or any calcium carbonate line, suddenly it dies back. It never makes the yield profitable to the farmer. Then targeted crop-specific nutrient management. Yes, we can save large amount of money by just putting the required amount of fertilizers, interventions for a particular crop or a particular season, and have the package of practice. This is possible. We can avoid misuse or overuse. And then decision support system advisory. Yes, it will really empower. If the advisory goes to his farmer, to the farm and farmer, to the devices he is having, today they are all having it on a regular basis, on a real-time basis, surely that will make a change in the way they look. And it will empower the farmers more than anything else, as I listed here, makes him more empowered because his knowledge base is improved. He is no more dependent on whatever the department just says or guides or puts it in his form. He will be empowered to ask, gets convinced, and go with the situation to overcome the same. And with all that, the status of resource demands data which is comprehensive, and that data helps us to go for products which are knowledge based, science based, which helps the departments. But then to make that data which is really available to the stakeholders, from the departments, from the scientists, from the research institutions to the farmers, communities, you need a system which is not dictated by the whims and fancies of a department or the person who has generated the data. The data should become data neutral to the users. That is possible, and it is really possible with the technology available today. The technology helps us to make the data to reach in no time. Only thing is, as I've been telling, the first step is the generation. Once it is generated, we can build an infrastructure, ICT platform, which takes this information in no time through different applications. So, for which you need the interface is the decision support system. The map per se, it gives an information, but make that output usable, you need an advisory, which used to be provided by the departments manually, but this can be automated today, and advisory can go without any interventions of anybody to the users after that development and validation. So the development of decision support system is a critical step for moving towards sustainable management of the resources. And this can be developed by integrating multiple data layers. Yes. And this is possible today with the technology, JS and data analytics technology available today. And billions of data layers can be linked here and integrated. And for the users, the output can go in no time. For your kind information, the attempt made in Karnataka in about 14 lakh hectares, some of the decision support systems, they have reduced the intervention period, the development of including development of decision support system, or suitability advisory, or nutrient management advisory, or crop plant, and for check dam interventions, or any soil and water conservation interventions, has made it automated. And some of these has helped and given confidence to the department, and also has empowered the farmers on a real-time basis. I'll show you some of the outputs which is generated, which is available, which can be replicated. That's what is being tried in some of the states. The pilot from Karnataka is going to other states where the same technology and is going to be multiplied or replicated. And you can see, may not be that clear here, but it only shows there is huge work goes behind the development of decision support system. It's not like it's much more complicated than development of an aeroplane. It's very tough actually, and it needs different domain specialization and their convergence, and the data needs to be validated. And the variability, as I told in the beginning, the natural resource variability is a big challenge for anybody to even comprehend. So the validation has to happen, then it can be rolled out. So step by step, what is the criteria, what is the flow, and what is the input, where it can go, when it can go, what is the anticipated output, all that has been built last 3-4 years in Karnataka, and the systems have been rolled out for many applications. For example, the data from any given area, once you select the area, the system generates the output. See, for a check dam, as I told you earlier, what is going to be the runoff available? Then 60 mm. Then out of this, how much is
to be allowed as an environmental flow, and how much is available? 42 mm only. So you know exactly the system generates and tells in this area how much is the runoff available for any check dam construction. Then once this is known, you can say you want 2, 3, it cannot be 10. And then where it can be, yes, it happens. So this is how the decision support system, expert system helps the planner, which was not possible earlier. And then coming to the nutrient management, you have a pool of resources, survey number wise, or for the whole village or watershed. The intervention is always, I've been emphasizing, is site specific and farmer centric. Select a survey number, and the whole information is available in the data center, digital library, and the portal. From there, for the survey number you have selected, right, which is part of the management unit, and you select the crop. Survey number is selected, information is drawn, select a crop for which the information is again available in the digital library. It matches as per the flow chart, as per the algorithm built, and finally it gives the area, tells the survey number whether it is good, suitable or not. If it is not suitable, what are the reasons? If it's moderately suitable, what are the constraints, how it can be overcome? And finally, it links with the package of practices. So the whole output is holistic for the survey number. There is nothing left. Just take this advisory to the farm. So only you make this available. So this decision support system, which is operational now, helps the farmer and the department to go for the advisory at the farm level for nutrient management. Then for crop selection, as I explained, so you can assess based on this and the data available. You can assess for any number of crop at any time, and the choices based on the choice, and the farmer can select the one which is best suited. Then for water budget, the decision support system for this tells us what is the available endowment of water, what is going to be the balance, and what is the budget, how it's appropriated, and what is left is a deficit or it is surplus, and it helps us to go for further management interventions. And the most important thing which I must emphasize here is preparation of DPR, which is automated, which used to take months and months, still need to be. Today, with the decision support system developed, we can churn out that detailed project report for watershed, for any other department which can be developed. Right now, for watershed intervention, it's available. It gives us the report, and it needs to be validated. And it's a great capability for the department. And just a glimpse of the whole environment, the data center, a digital library and portal, how it's built and how it's helping the farmer. Just a glimpse for you to remember. So this little graphically, it shows the complete database coming from different stakeholders. As you know, the land resource is scattered. It's not soil, as I've been telling. It's not water. It's not weather. You need complete comprehensive information of any parcel, any area for that matter. Once for that, you need partners. It cannot be some are good in doing research or collecting data about soil, some are collecting data on weather, some are collecting data on crops, some are having data of the remote sensing. So all of them are partners. They need to be partnered, and their capacity and their inherent strength is used to collect the data, and the collected data is pushed into the centralized database and integrated with the decision support system and disseminated through mobile and web to the stakeholders. So this is a win-win situation. And you'll be amazed that this is a big data. You can imagine the basic data from each farm and the interventions and thematic maps generated and the remote sensing data which is being used and the real-time weather data which is coming and every 15 minutes interval. It will be amazing thing to imagine how all that gets integrated. The product goes to the farmer and to the department to make use towards whatever the interventions they're planning. This is a real game changer, and we look forward for if you are thinking of, sustainable agriculture or climate smart agriculture in future. And some of the shots of the portal which is built, which shortly may be released for public, and it's under use, but no, it's still not made public. It gives you comprehensively for anybody for that state to browse, get the data, get the output, starting from weather, market information to even farmers can register here, and then including the spatial and non-spatial data is housed there. For the spatial, non-spatial available data plus the LRI data of 40 lakh hectares is housed in the data center. And you can just select the village, you get the data which is there. Then simply you want to know about the LRI database. LRI database means a comprehensive data about the soil, site, weather. You can just go there and view it. And then they generate thematic maps. It churns out a thematic map. Here, if you look, this is about the nutrient status of a particular micro watershed, and produces a map and also report if you want. And then the 9 DSS works for the whole area. For soil and water conservation, you can simply select any area, village, and then you get the report. It indicates survey number wise or map unit wise what is going to be the intervention, what is going to be the cost per acre or per hectare, and attached with the package of practices. That is conservation package of practices for that farm to be followed. And you can also select just a survey number, a farm holding. And for this, you get the output. What is the appropriate conservation or harvesting structure needed for this? So whether it's a whole watershed or survey number or parcel wise, the decision support system churns out the outputs. And for crop suitability, again, the same. It gives the number of crops which are gives you, and it also grades highly suitable to moderate for each, and then also ranks out of say 70, it gives you a ranking of 3-4. If you want to have the full list, you can have a view. You can short circuit it. You can select from one which is already listed as highly suitable for that area. So there are huge options available now. Again, for individual farmer also can do it, right? Then the most, as I've been telling, is the development.
Natarajan, can you try to finish that?
Yes, sir. Maybe another say 5-10 minutes, sir. I may not take much time. So generation of DPR. Yes, this is a real game changer. Now all the data which is there helps and churns out automatic way the DPR for an area with the decision support system. Yes. Now I'm not going to take much time, sir. Bear with me for a few minutes. Then just to summarize, the importance of library, portal, and mobile applications for management. There are some of the big takeaways, like reduction in project cycle, and then the convergence of programs never happened. Everyone used to work in overlapping manner. Now it's possible because, as I told, one area, one plan, which helps everyone to converge there. Then this approach of the LRI approach of characterizing the resources of an area, generating thematic outputs, and then putting all that, migrating all that, housing in a centralized system, and then meeting the needs of departments and users, whatever way like. This is the way forward towards the sustainable and climate smart agriculture is possible. So what is the few takeaways of today's webinar for all of us is the reality is the resources are degrading. It needs site-specific intervention. So for site-specific intervention, we need land resource inventory, which can characterize the resources. That means it brings all the resource endowments of an area in one place, churns out thematic maps and knowledge products, which helps through web and mobile applications and kiosks to which are critical to ensure sustainability and thereby making climate smart agriculture a reality in the future. And today's advances in remote sensing, GIS and ICT and mapping techniques available, LRI approach can be operationalized on a fast track mode to cover the entire country in a reasonable period of to generate farm specific management options and advisories needed on a dynamic way. This is a possibility which was not there even 2-3 decades back. This what was planned with Professor Moni 10 years back when he was Director General of NIC, and what can be rolled out today can be much more faster, rapid way, fast track manner. It's possible today. And then once these things are built, the flow of data to stakeholders helps in many ways. Just starting from planning, to the farm level planning by a department or for farmer, location specific constraints and problems to address that, and supply. This helps to go for supply of inputs, advisories, a more realistic and meaningful way. Yes, it's possible. Further, the LRA approach can help in evolving science-based subsidy. Yes, whatever is happening now can be further fine-tuned. It can really oriented towards science. The data is there. It tells where it has to be targeted. It helps. More than anything else, this approach and this knowledge base can provide the framework needed for transfer of capital, subsidies, and inputs directly to the farmers. Yes, it's a possibility. It gives a framework. And farmers department can play the role of enabling instead of directly getting involved. This will ultimately, all this will facilitate land stewardship, which is essential if you are thinking of community based, farm oriented, sustainable and climate smart agriculture. Stewardship is essential. This platform helps towards this, and moving farming from subsistence to sustainable and climate smart one in the country to come. And I can conclude. Thank you so much for all. This site is in Nagaland. It's recognized as a heritage site for the simple reason the resources are managed for centuries, I can say, in a very sustainable manner. And probably it's not a big challenge for a place where we are living in the plains. Here the slope is more than 100%. Here where we are having 1 or 2% slope is much easy possible. Thank you so much for all of you for your kind participation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Adena Naradajan, for your very informative and knowledge-based, address to the audience in today's webinar series on the topic sustainable soil and land management, for climate smart agriculture, wherein you have very elaborately talked about the need for undertaking land resources inventory at the farm level. You also mentioned that 10 years back, both of us have worked towards and put up the proposal, and it didn't take off, but still it has got, and that time that much technology was not available, but techniques were available. But today you have both techniques and technologies available. Now the emerging agri startup in a very big manner, and in this area itself can generate, even as I rightly said it in the beginning, that it can generate even one agri startup on LRI in every gram panchayat can facilitate. So thank you very much for your very innovative and talk on this topic with all ground level experience. Today you brought out the real experience on the ground, and we are very happy about it. And we would like to have your long-term association with the centers of excellence in the university. And I think the Honorable Chancellor has joined. Dr. Adena Naradajan gave an address for about more than 90 minutes on the very important topic on land resource inventory. It is a way forward for climate, overcoming to achieve climate smart agriculture. And now it's a time to have the valedictory remarks from the Honorable Chancellor, Shri Kunwar Shekhar Vijendra. Let me introduce our Honorable Chancellor, Shobhit Institute of Engineering and Technology, deemed to be University, to the audience. Shri Kunwar Shekhar Vijendra is a co-founder and Chancellor of Shobhit Institute of Engineering and Technology, Meerut, and a NAC accredited deemed to be University, and Shobhit University, Bengaluru, Uttar Pradesh. He is a prominent social entrepreneur based in New Delhi and carries leadership roles in many organizations. He has been nominated as the co-chairman of National Council on Education of Assocham, the oldest apex chamber of commerce in India for the year 2020-21. Shri Kunwar Shekhar Vijendra is a persistent advocate of initiatives for education for all, secular values, crisis management through diplomatic and peaceful ways, and globalized system of learning and harmonious coexistence. He has been instrumental in the development of a number of higher educational institutes in North India including 2 universities, many research centers, an Ayurveda Medical College, College of Naturopathy and Yogic Sciences, and a 100-bed Ayush hospital. And he is instrumental in establishing to promote technology in the rural India through 4 centers of excellence: Center for Agricultural Informatics and E-Governance Research Studies in the country, which is it is the first in the world, and Center for Agribusiness and Disaster Management Studies, Center for Informatics Development Solutions and Application, and Center for Technology Industry 4.0 Technology Studies and Applications. And he is very actively involved with a number of social organizations. Acknowledging his contribution in the areas of education and other concern, he has been copiously honored and awarded. He has traveled widely in India and abroad to the countries like USA, UK, Germany, Australia, Russia, China, South Korea, Vietnam, Mongolia, United Arab Emirates, Mauritius, Rwanda, Uganda, and Croatia, etc., to participate in various professional, social, and educational activities. Shri Kunwar Shekhar Vijendra is a passionate Gandhian, avid reader, keen learner, social speaker, occasional poet, and a dreamer. We have, Honorable Chancellor, we had a very passionate address on the need for land resources inventory in the country, even though we initiated 10 years back as a national priority project, but it didn't come through. But it is still relevant. It's more relevant today on the ground, and it can generate, at least one agri startup in every gram panchayat on this very important area of, land resources inventory on site specific or farm level. Even though many schemes were not able to get generalized at the farm level, but this land resources inventory can facilitate that. And Dr. Adena Naradajan has given a very important, address today on the topic. Now, we would like to listen to your address on, with respect to the topic, which is very dear to your heart. Over to the Honorable Chancellor, Shobhit Institute of Engineering and Technology, Meerut.
Thank you very much, Professor Moni. Good afternoon, everybody. It's always a pleasure and honor for me to be a part of this very important international webinar series. And today, as Dr. Natarajan was talking about a topic which needs more understanding in the country, sustainable soil and land management for climate smart agriculture, a new learning was happening for me also. Thank you very much, Dr. Natarajan, for a wonderful presentation. There are not only recommendations or the work done by you, there are new learnings also. And I'm sure that your presentation today will help the government, policymakers to think about it again. I congratulate Center for Agriculture Informatics and E-Governance Research Studies and Center for Agribusiness and Disaster Management Studies of Shobhit deemed University, Meerut, and the chairman of these centers, Professor M. Moni, for his persistent advocacy to double the income of the farmers by 2022. When Honorable Prime Minister a few years back spoke about it, many of us were thinking how it is possible in this country. But every time, every week, my confidence is more and more that it is possible because, as Professor Moni has mentioned, since last many months, every week we are having an international webinar to search the possibilities, to discuss the technology, to see the inspirations, and to share the work done by wonderful people like you, Dr. Natarajan. So thank you very much, both of you, for a wonderful initiative and wonderful presentation today. I'm not an expert of the subject, but I hail from a village and I feel proud to say, yes, agriculture is there in my family also. However, I am not a qualified farmer. So, in the face of global environment change, the notion of climate smart agriculture has emerged as an approach which can contribute to increase agricultural production and income of farmer households. Despite the potential of CSA to attain sustainable agriculture, poor connections exist among the components of CSA at the field level. More importantly, the concept is sometimes poorly understood by various levels of stakeholders. In order to attain a better future, it is crucial to disseminate climate smart agriculture approaches to field level by including them in academic syllabus. I emphasize on that. In academic syllabus, we have to have more seminars, symposium, and research work on that. And whatever research we are doing, as Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Bhai Modi ji has said, that every research deserves to go from lab to lands. And every land has to come to the research, to the lab for research. This connection has to be there. And to make that connection to implement climate smart agriculture landscapes, at least 4 institutional mechanisms are important and required. One, multi stakeholder planning has to be there. Generally, what is happening that and like everybody is doing a planning in isolation, different verticals are there. So multi-stakeholder planning has to be there, supportive landscape governance and resource tenure has to be there, targeted investment in the landscape that supports climate smart objectives, it is very important, and tracking the multiple dimensions of change to determine if social, economic, ecosystem, and climate goals are being met at different scales has to be seen. In a recent webinar, we were talking about FDI in agriculture. And I realized that whatever FDI is coming to the country, it is coming with a very myopic vision. It is coming to promote the marketing, to promote the sales. But many of them, or most of them, are not talking about how to increase the production. So, through climate change adaptation and mitigation, though climate change adaptation and mitigation are the standard motivations for climate smart agriculture initiatives, other goals of land rehabilitation, watershed management, food security, and biodiversity conversion need to be incorporated. And I am happy that today Dr. Natarajan was talking about all of them. Very detailed presentation was there on everything, whatever I am talking about, with the aim of developing multifunctional landscapes. What is happening actually? You were mentioning about the mango orchards. You mentioned about them. We also have some of them. And I was realizing this thing that what happened to our orchards, some of them are giving wonderful yield, very tasty mangoes, and some of them are not. Because neither we were knowing about it, that how to optimize, how to see the data, how to work on that, nor nobody told us ever. Wherever was the land, we decided, okay, we will put more mango orchards there, we will do guava orchard there, we will do this thing without realizing if it is going to give us a production or not. And I am sure that if what we discuss today, if we can take it, this knowledge, this science, this gyan to our farmers, the change will start coming. This is the most important thing. And I'm really thankful to both of you, and especially Dr. Natarajan to you. Because in last so many weeks, all the topics, if I look, this is our 14th webinar in that series. If we look at the topics, Every topic has a pain somewhere. Those pains need to be understood. Because without understanding those pains, we cannot find solutions. And pain can be understood to understand the body first, to go on the ground level. We have to work there. And I'm really happy that Dr. Natarajan, you are working on the ground. You're not talking, sitting with your computers in Delhi and with the data and working on that. You are speaking from the ground. And when you are on the ground, it means you are speaking from your heart. And this is exactly what is required. So, as I mentioned earlier, that we need to incorporate it in academic syllabus. You mentioned about skill development issues. Yes, it is very important. I do not know, we have a skill council on agriculture, but I do not know, are they talking about these all things or not? Or we are still talking that how much fertilizer has to be put or how to sell the seeds. That real skills, what are required are these skills. Ancient, historical, we were knowing about it. If I look at the ancient literature, we knew about it. What has to be sowed where, how we have to manage our lands, how we have to have more yield. Hunger was less. So, skill development has to be there, and I will be more than happy to start some micro skilling certificate programs with your knowledge, with your cooperation. Professor Moni, I will request you to discuss with him, and if we can develop some, even online initially, micro certifications for the students from the globe, not only from India, from many other countries. Because in this area, in CSA, in Africa, a lot of experimentation has been done. In India, also, some experiments must be happening. So let us do that. An intervention of technology will happen when the youth will understand the importance of it. So let us work in that direction, and we will be more than happy to incorporate at least some modules, some knowledge in our course curriculum, maybe of BSc Agriculture, maybe of our BTech in Agricultural Informatics, or even other areas also, maybe in our MBA program also. So, Dr. Natarajan, thank you very much. We are more knowledgeable today and we are more confident today. Yes, we can support the vision of our Honorable Prime Minister that to double the income of our farmers in coming years. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure indeed to listen to you. Stay safe, stay blessed. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you very much for your, very, important valedictory address to the conference, the webinar, National Webinar Series on Doubling Farmers' Income by 2022. You very nicely said it that even though we have an MBA program on agribusiness, there is no MBA program on farm management. And we have given to the students of agriculture science and technology, but there is no MBA program on farm management. And this LRI as a base concept, base foundation for farm management can be through the micro certification, which the Honorable Chancellor has voiced about it. Dr. Natarajan, it was a very wonderful address today on the topic, which can motivate all the students from rural India in this, important subject. They should understand, and if they listen, if they go through this webinar, video, they will certainly will think about it that why should I leave farming? And the situation is there, even though you rightly said it that this is it was a very important thing that it should have been a joint project between NBSS&LUP and National Informatics Center, but we didn't go through that. But this is a time that it has to take place, and it will take, and I'm very happy about it. And that it has to be like a micro certification. It has to be initiated as a not merely a skill development, but it is a certified skill development programs. Thank you very much for your participation and today, and let us cherish our relationship, our past relationship, and the ongoing relationship for effectively developing and strengthening the Center for Agricultural Informatics and E-Governance Research Studies in the Shobhit Institute of Engineering and Technology. So with this, I would like to thank all the participants of the webinar series today, and those who are participating from India and abroad. And we thank you, all of you. And with this, we will close the seminar, and we will leave, and for any party, for any inquiries, please write to me. I'm Professor Madasamy Moni, and the Professor Emeritus and Chairman of Center for Agricultural Informatics and E-Governance Research Studies. And for any research inquiries and further participation, please send an email to my email ID, moni@shobhituniversity.ac.in. Thank you very much. We leave the studio. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.